In a park where all the world's best coasters stand, some of the world's tallest, fastest, and most intense roller coasters. Among them lurks one of the most insane rides in the world. Rougarou? Rougarou? Yo, how the hell do you pronounce this thing?
Psst, psst, psst.
Seriously? Why do they add so many damn vowels? How does the name manage to be more stupid than the ride? Ugh, that's it. I'm done with this stupid video.
Welcome back to Theme Park Analysis. Today, we're going to talk about Cedar Point's biggest issue. This is supposed to be the coaster capital of the world, a showcase of the finest roller coasters in all the land, and somehow Rougarou sneaks in here? This coaster quite literally does nothing for their lineup. They already have Valraven, Raptor, and Gatekeeper, so they clearly do not need any more multi-loopers that hang off the track. They are very covered in that front, so this begs the question, why does this ride exist? This is not doing anything for their lineup, so what's the point of having it around? Originally, the ride was a stand-up coaster called Mantis, and I do think that made a little bit more sense to have around because it did provide the unique experience of standing up on a coaster, though it likely did suck because it was a stand-up coaster. Then, in 2015, they gave the ride an ugly name, an ugly color scheme, and new trains. The ride may now be a bit better than before, but the ride is still crap, especially compared to every other ride in this park. Not only is it rough, especially with that transition into the mid-course, but the ride is just boring. It doesn't do anything of importance. It just sits there giving mid-ride after mid-ride. Even the general public seem to think it's bad. Despite being right next to Millennium Force, which is one of the most well-known coasters, and it always has a massive line, Rougarou still manages to have a short line all the time. It's never longer than 30 minutes on a crowded day, and on most days, it's 15 minutes max. The worst part about this ride is that it sits on a prime spot of land. It's right over the lake, which you would think could lead to some cool interactions between the ride and the lake, but nope. They decided to not do that and instead just put Rougarou there. As we know, since they're a peninsula, Cedar Point is very landlocked. So typically, for every ride they want to put in, they're gonna have to remove something. We recently saw this with Wicked Twister, which got the axe to make way for Wild Mouse. Now there's always speculation on what coaster is going to kick the bucket next, and it seems to be general consensus that Gemini is going to be next. Now this is one of my favorite coasters, so I'd be really sad to see it go, but also I think it makes more sense to remove Rougarou than it does to remove Gemini. For starters, Gemini actually adds something to the park lineup. The racing aspect and those up-close interactions between the trains is something you cannot get on any other coaster in the park. Rougarou, on the other hand, as previously discussed, has many similar and better coasters such as Valraven, Gatekeeper, and Raptor. Now, many of y'all might protest saying that Gemini takes up more space than Rougarou, thus making it a better option to remove. This is a very fair point, but I think the land Rougarou takes up is arguably more valuable because it's on that lake. If they were to use that plot of land for whatever coaster they add next, it would give them the opportunity to use the lake to provide a nice theme and scenery for the ride. In the recent past, we've seen many parks in the Six Flags Entertainment Corporation focus more on theming elements, such as Kings Island with Orion and Six Flags Fiesta Texas with Poltergeist. Also, it's important to note that it's not like Rougarou sits on a small plot of land either. There is definitely room for a different coaster here, and perhaps one that could even interact with Iron Dragon next door. But what would they add? Well, before I answer that question, I want to ask that if you are enjoying the video so far, please consider liking and or subscribing. It would really mean the world to me. When thinking of rides that Cedar Point could add in the future, the first thing that comes to mind is a modern wooden coaster from GCI or the Gravity Crew, which is something that Cedar Point does lack. But, given the fact that this plot of land is over water, and that wooden coasters are starting to go out of style and we're seeing them being built less and less, the odds of this happening are incredibly low. Next up is the 4D coaster. Now, I don't think that this is super likely, but I don't think that it's completely out of the cards. Both Cedar Fair and Six Flags worked with SNS to buy a 4D free spin before they merged. So now that they have merged, assuming they still have good relations with SNS, I think it's likely that we are to see another 4D coaster pop up somewhere. I think that some sort of custom 4D ride from SNS would be amazing at Cedar Point. Not only could it easily have interactions with the water, but it is also very different from everything else in the park. Some might argue that it's too similar to Gatekeeper, but if you've ridden a 40 coaster, you know the experience is not comparable to the experience you get on a wing coaster. A 40 coaster would do wonders for the lineup, and it would really differentiate itself from the rest of the rides at Cedar Point. Lastly, I think the best option would be a good flying coaster. I also think that this is the most likely of the three. Not only do they not have any form of flying coaster, but a flying coaster would work amazingly well on the plot of land that Rougarou sits. Having it glide over the water would be an excellent feature to implement. Not only that, but they could also add some water effects, similar to what they've done at Manta at SeaWorld Orlando. I think if they go with this option and theme it up, not only would it be a massive step up from Rougarou, but it would also help liven up the area. Currently, the area around Rougarou is one of the drabbest areas in the park, and it could really use some TLC. I think that a new addition and theme would bring this area up to the standards with the rest of the park. If they did go the flying route, I could see them working with either Vekoma or B&M. We know they've got a good relationship with B&M, but also now we see them working with Vekoma for Siren's Curse, so I think either could be a possibility. Now, if I had to choose between the two, I would pick Vekoma given the current era of B&M, with the rides being much rougher than rides created in the past. Now, if I were to make an actual prediction between what were to get the axe first, Rougarou or Gemini, I would definitely still put my money on Gemini getting the axe, because it does sit on a larger plot of land. But I still think that Rougarou could definitely be on its way out within the next 10 years. After Gemini gets removed, Rougarou will then be on the chopping block. But honestly, when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter which one they remove first. As long as they don't replace whatever they remove with another 90-degree drop coaster, it'll be an improvement. If you've enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I really do appreciate every one of you that chooses to subscribe. Like I said before, it means the world to me. And of course, as always, have a lovely day.